In this video, I'm going to go over 20 questions you need to know. If you're new to the channel, my name's Darren Sy. I'm a licensed real estate agent and loan officer in California. And my channel is dedicated to all things real estate and mortgage education. If you want to learn more about real estate, life as a real estate agent, life as a loan officer, or just my experiences in real estate, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Now, let's get into these test questions so you can pass your real estate exam on your first try. Question number 1. Which of these is not a good thing to do when writing a counter offer? A. Fill out a separate, numbered counter offer form. B. Rewrite whole paragraphs to ensure clarity. C. Date and attach supporting documents. D. Exert pressure on the sellers to include something the other party wants. Let's think this one through. If you are writing a counteroffer, that means you are representing the seller. And so just with that in mind, the answer is going to be D. Exert pressure on the sellers to include something the other party wants. Remember, this is a not question. So make sure you understand that clearly. So I actually like this question a lot because it's a real world example, right? When you're writing a counteroffer, you're representing the seller. And so you definitely need to have a separate numbered counteroffer form. You should write in whole paragraphs and make sure what you're asking for is clear, right? And then definitely need to date and attach supporting documents. Question number 2, who typically presents an offer to the sellers? A, the selling broker. B, the listing agent. C, listing broker and selling broker. D, selling agent. So the answer here is B, listing agent. So to understand what this question's even asking, we need to understand the terms of what a broker and an agent are. Selling broker, selling agent, listing broker. To know the answer here, you have to understand which party or which agent represents the seller, which is the listing agent. The listing agent represents the seller, meaning they will present the offers to the sellers. Question number 3. When you believe an offer is both fair and reasonable, but it does not meet the seller's asking price, you should A, make no recommendations and let the sellers decide on their own. B, recommend a counteroffer back to the list price. C, work towards acceptance. D, recommend the seller delay response to make the buyer nervous and then submit a counteroffer. The answer here is C, work toward acceptance. If the offered price is less than the list price, but you as the agent believe it's actually a fair and reasonable offer, you should explain to the seller why and explain to them that this is actually a good and fair offer and see how you can move the needle forward. Obviously, A is not a good choice, right? They're hiring you for your professional experience and to guide them to the best terms and price that they can get. Oh, I like this question right after because this is a should not question. Make sure you read these questions carefully. When you receive an offer on a listing for less than asking price, you should not A, study the other terms of the offer so that you can maximize the offer's benefits and minimize the lower price. B, set up a face-to-face meeting with the sellers as soon as possible. C, prepare additional documentation to take the presentation. D, give the sellers the price over the phone so that they can think about it before you meet with them. The answer here is D, give the sellers the price over the phone so that they can think about it before you meet with them. Okay, question number 5. Most sellers object to offers based on A, closing issues. B, offering price. C, financing issues. D, contingencies. The correct answer here is B, offering price. Most sellers are counting on a specific amount for the sale, and they might feel a little cheated if the price is lower than the listing price. Most of the time, it comes down to the moolah, right? It comes down to dollars and cents. Sellers want to net the most. If we're buying something, we want the best deal. If we're selling something, we want to sell it for the highest price. So now we're about halfway through these questions, and a lot of people have been reaching out to me asking me for study guides or, additional practice material. And so I've actually partnered with Calibri, who has offered a great deal. Keep in mind, full transparency, this is an affiliate link, so I make a little bit off of the sale, but you can get a 45% discount on either your real estate courses or test practice questions using this link or my promo code. So I'm out here trying to get you guys the best deal on these practice tests. Let's go back into the questions. Question number 6. Once an offer has been accepted, the agent should do all of the following except which? Once again, read the question carefully. This is an except question. A, make sure all required disclosures have been done. B, attend the final walkthrough. C, be sure all requested inspections have been ordered. D, meet with the buyer's lender to ensure they're getting a good deal. The correct answer here is D, meet with the buyer's lender to ensure they're getting a good deal. So why isn't it your job to meet with the buyer's lender to make sure they're getting a good deal? You're not in charge of your client's finances. It is the client's right to pick the lender that they work with. That is 100% their choice. From a real estate agent responsibility perspective, your job is to make sure that the disclosures have been done, that you're there for the final walkthrough, and to make sure that you requested all the proper inspections for them. Financing is handled on their aspect, and you can give your opinion, but there are too many agents out there that try to force people to use their lender and don't give them options. Question number 7. Which of these is not a true statement? Once again, a not question. A purchase offer is a binding contract between the buyer, the seller, and their agents. B, if a seller changes the terms of the offer to purchase, he has created a counteroffer. C, an offer or counteroffer can be withdrawn at any time before it has been accepted. D, once the offer or counteroffer is accepted and the offerer has been notified, a legal contract is formed. The answer here is A. A purchase offer is a binding contract between the buyer, the seller, and their agents. So this one might be a little bit confusing, but basically, once the offer or counteroffer is accepted, and that acceptance is delivered to the buyer, the offer becomes a legally binding contract between the buyer and the seller. The agents do owe their clients a fiduciary duty, but they're actually not a party to the contract. So A is not true because that contract is between the buyer and the seller, not the agents. Question number 8. Which of these statements about counteroffers is not true? A counter offer represents a rejection of an offer. B, a counter offer by a seller to a buyer turns the seller from offeree to offerer. C, a counter offer can give the buyers an out if they want one. D, if the buyer rejects the first counter offer, the seller can accept the first offer. The answer here is D. If the buyer rejects the first counteroffer, the seller can accept the first offer. And so let's go back to this. This is which of the statements about counteroffers is not true. So once an offer is rejected, it's dead in the water. And the sellers have now lost their right to enter into a contract with those buyers. Basically, once either party rejects a counteroffer, there's no going back to the previous offer. Question number 9. When presenting information about the buyers to the sellers, which piece of information might not be useful in helping the sellers make a decision? A, the buyer's family is pressuring them to purchase this home. B, the buyers have been pre-qualified by a lender. C, the buyers are interested in another property. D, the buyers love the landscaping improvements the sellers have made. The answer here is A. The buyer's family is pressuring them to purchase this home. And so this question is kind of strange, but I think they're trying to frame it as if you're representing the buyers, what information should you be presenting to the listing agent to help your buyers get that offer accepted, right? Like if I'm representing my buyers, I would never let the sellers, I would never include to the listing agent like, oh yeah, their parents are really forcing them to buy this house, you know? Okay, last but not least, question number 10. Jake has received 2 offers on one of his listings. Congrats, Jake. Congrats on the multiple offers. The home is listed at $210,000. One offer is for $208,000. The other is for $200,000. What should Jake do? A. Present the 208 offer today and wait for a response from the sellers before he presents the other offer. B. Present the 200 first and recommend rejection. Then present the 208 offer. Present the 208 offer and the 200 offer together at the same presentation meeting. Hold both offers because he heard that a full price offer is on its way. The answer here is going to be C. Present the 208 offer and the 200 offer together at the same presentation meeting. So if an agent receives more than one offer on the property, they must present all offers together. The agent must also inform the seller of any upcoming offers or verbal offers that they know about when they present the offers. So real world scenario, typically on a listing, right? If you have multiple offers, you're presenting them all at once. You're going to walk through the pros, the cons, and then the next steps, right? Multiple offer scenario, I'm probably telling my seller counter both, right? In this scenario, see if you can kind of leverage those depending on the terms, or look at the terms, look at the price, and see how you can get your seller the best of both worlds in terms of terms and price. Now that we've gone through the first 10 questions, this is a good time to reset. Take a quick, big breath, get a quick drink of water, and come back prepared to study. If you want some tips on how to pass the exam on the first try and use some of the strategies that I used, I actually am going to link a video here explaining how to pass the exam on the first try. I hope you watch that video, you get some insights, you figure out what works for you so you don't waste time or money not passing this exam on the first try. All right, let's get into the last 10 questions. Okay, let's dive in. Question number 1. What would be the least effective way to get to know your buyer's needs? A. Ask closed-ended questions. B. Listen carefully to everything your prospects say and repeat some specifics back at appropriate times so they know you have heard what they said. Be their therapist. C. Watch actions and body language. D. Ask open-ended questions. The answer is A. Ask close-ended questions. So once again, make sure you read these questions carefully. This is asking the least effective way. And if you don't know what a closed-end question is, that is basically if you ask a yes or no question. Versus D, asking a open-ended question is, an example of an open-ended question would be, what are your favorite neighborhoods in this city? And so obviously the best way to learn about your buyer's needs is asking open-ended questions. And the worst and the least effective way would be asking yes or no questions. Question number 2. Which of these is an emotional reason that buyers buy property? A. Tax advantages. B. Status. C. Investment. D. Schools. The answer here is B. Status. So if we just go through each of those 4 answers, right? Tax advantages are financial, investment is financial, and schools is not really emotional. It's lifestyle choice. So that leaves status as the only emotional reason. Question number 3. All of these might be a buying signal, except which? A. Taking room measurements. B. Asking about a possession date. C. Moving closer to the agent to get a better look. D. Walking through the home quickly. So the answer here is D. Walking through the home quickly. So obviously, if people are taking room measurements or they're asking about when they can move in, they're probably excited about the home. If, you see someone walking through a home quickly, they probably don't want to be there. And so all of these might, and so going back to the original question, it's an accept question. So I think you just look for the one that is very clearly a buyer not being interested in a home. Question number 4. Which clause in the purchase agreement states that failure to meet any deadline may be treated as a breach of the agreement? A. Time is of the essence. B. Caveat emptor. C. Dispute resolution. And D. Liquidated damages. Answer here is time is of the essence. That clause states that the parties are legally required to meet all deadlines set out in the purchase agreement. And performance on or before the exact dates is considered to be an essential term of the agreement. Okay, question number 5. Which paragraph of the purchase agreement must be initialed by both buyers and sellers for it to apply? A. Final verification of condition. B. Removal of contingencies. C. Liquidated damages. D. Buyer indemnity and seller protection. The answer here is C. Liquidated damages. The liquidated damages paragraph of the purchase agreement states the buyer agrees to pay the seller if the buyer breaches the contract with damages not to exceed 3% of the purchase price. Both buyer and seller must initial this section for it to apply. This portion of the contract is very well known and talked about in California. Make sure you understand that liquidated damages portion, and you do walk both buyers and sellers through it. Now that we're halfway through, I hope you're enjoying the questions. If you feel like these videos aren't quite enough, I am going to share a link to Calibri, which is the education resource I've used to get my loan license and my real estate license. And they've actually shared a promo code with me that will help you save 45% off on their products. And a full disclaimer, I do get a small portion of that sale as an affiliate link, but I've personally used their products to get my licenses. Other viewers said they've actually used their products and got their licenses as well. So if you do want to save some money and need additional resources, the link's here. Okay, back to the questions. Question number 6. What does the paragraph on repairs state? A. The buyer must make all repairs. B. If checked, the seller can complete repairs after closing. C. The seller can do all repairs himself. D. All repairs must be in compliance with existing building codes. D. All repairs must be in compliance with existing building codes. Any needed repairs must be done in compliance with building codes and with the proper permits must be completed before the buyer's final verification. The seller must have receipts for the repairs and show the buyer they have been done. Question number 7. Agent Jim tells his buyers that the seller will leave the riding lawnmower if the buyers make an offer now. What kind of closing technique is Jim using? Manipulation. No, I'm just kidding, Jim. A. Assumptive. B. Alternative. C. Bonus. D. Ownership. The answer here is C. Bonus. The bonus technique offers a little bit extra incentive for the sale, and it should definitely always be used carefully, and it always should be used with the seller's approval. All of the following are good approaches for handling objections, except which? Another except question. Gotta read these questions carefully. A. View an objection as the buyer's request for more information. B. Use the yes, but technique to handle the objection. C. Ask the buyer more questions. D. Tell the buyer it's not an issue. So the correct answer here is D. Tell the buyer it's not an issue. Let's just think about this from a personal perspective. When someone tells you it's not an issue, how does that make you feel? But going back to this, right? When working with buyers, you as an agent should be ready to handle objections. And for you to handle an objection, you're going to need to know kind of what additional information does the buyer need to make a good decision. So obviously, A, viewing an objection as the buyer's request for more information, that's probably the most accurate thing, right? Like this person just needs more information and the way they're asking feels like an objection to you. B, saying yes, but usually helps, right? Because you're confirming their feelings, you're confirming, and then you're giving them the additional information. And then C, you got to ask more questions, right? I always feel like my job is to get to the root cause and really understand why or what the buyer is asking. And so yeah, that leaves us with answer D, just telling them basically it's not an issue and F off is not the right way to handle it. Okay, question number 9. Offering a buyer more than one option and having them choose is using what kind of closing technique? A, bonus. B, alternative. C, ownership. D, standing room only. The answer here is B, alternative. We went over the bonus earlier, but the alternative close is a closing technique that offers the prospect more than one option and letting them choose. And I'll actually go through ownership and standing room only. So the ownership close is when the agent makes the buyer feel like they already own the property. They already live in the property. It's already theirs, right? And then last but not least, standing room. The standing room only technique is playing on a buyer's FOMO. Like they're going to miss out on this property. So going back to it, right? Bonus is like an additional incentive. Alternative is giving options. Ownership is making them feel like they're already the owner. And standing room only is playing on fear. Question number 10. Which of these is not an important aspect of selling? Ooh, a not question. A, establishing buyer rapport. B, knowing your inventory. C, giving buyers your opinion of what works best for them. D, handling objections. So the answer here is C, giving buyers your opinion of what works best for them. So let's walk through each of the answers. So A, establishing buyer rapport. You need to have if you don't know what rapport means, it means basically relationship building, right? You want to build a strong relationship with your client. B, knowing your inventory. It's super important to know what's going on in the market to gauge how to write offers and write winning offers. C, giving buyers your opinion of what works best for them. I mean, it's not really a part of the sales process. I mean, you are kind of being paid for your expertise and knowledge, but at the end of the day, it's not a part of selling. And then D, handling objections, right? That's a main part of the sales process. You're going to get questions that you need to be able to answer. I don't necessarily love this answer or this question, but from a sales perspective, giving your opinion is not necessarily a part of the sales process. Now that we're done with all 20 questions, if you want your own test bank of questions and you want to practice and get ready for that exam, I'm going to drop a link to Calibri. Now, this is where I get all of my questions from. This is the program that I use to pass my real estate exam and my loan officer license test on the first try. I'm also currently using Calibri to work on my broker's license. I've personally used Calibri myself, and I highly recommend it. Link is down below in the description. As always, I'm super grateful that you chose to study with me, and I hope you pass your real estate exam on your first try. Happy holidays.